You ever just wonder why people hide things? Why secrecy is such a basic, powerful instinct for us? Well, today we're going to dive into a really profound principle of human nature, a deep truth about all of us, and it's all packed into one single ancient sentence. So here it is. This is the source for our whole explainer. Now, look, no matter where it comes from, we're going to treat this sentence less like a religious text and more like a really sharp, really insightful observation on human psychology. It basically lays out this timeless cause and effect that you'll see we can still unpack and use today. All right, so let's break this thing down into its most basic parts. Right off the bat, the sentence gives us this incredibly direct link between doing something and then wanting to avoid something else, an action and an aversion. At its very core, this principle is almost like a law of physics for human behavior, right? It's simple. When a person does something they know is wrong, their immediate gut reaction is to dodge the spotlight, to avoid any kind of scrutiny. It's a predictable pattern, almost like a reflex. And I want to be really clear here, we're not looking at this as some kind of moral judgment. It's much more useful to think of it as just a clinical observation of how we're wired. The idea is that just like gravity makes an apple fall, this impulse makes people hide things they're not proud of. It's just a description of our internal mechanics. Okay, so that leads us to the next big question, doesn't it? If avoiding the light is the reaction, what's the motivation? Well, the verse gives us a one-word answer: fear. But fear of what exactly? Let's really get into this because it's so important. This fear of our deeds being exposed, man, that's a powerful, primal driver. And it's not just one simple thing. It's this whole complex mix of anxieties all rolled into one. And this lays out those different layers of fear perfectly. I mean, of course, you've got the obvious stuff, the tangible consequences, right? Getting punished, paying a fine, maybe losing your job. But then there's the social cost. What happens to your reputation, your status in the community? And maybe the most powerful piece of all is the internal stuff, that feeling of shame and the deep, deep discomfort of having to actually look in the mirror and confront what you did. So here's the key takeaway from this part. The number one fear isn't always the punishment itself, it's the exposure. It's the painful, vulnerable reality of just being seen for what we've done. So now let's talk about this central metaphor here, which is just so powerful and universal: the light. If we're going to understand how this principle works in our own lives, we kind of have to translate what the light means in a modern context. I mean, think about it. We use this phrase all the time, right? We talk about bringing something to light. What do we actually mean by that? It's not about flipping a switch in a room. It's about something much, much bigger. And this chart just nails it. The light is really just a stand-in for all these concepts we deal with every single day. It means transparency. It means accountability. It means the raw, unfiltered truth. It means simple honesty. And darkness, well, that's just the opposite of all those things. It's secrecy, denial, and deception. Okay, so we've broken down the action, the motivation, and the metaphor. So what? What's the big takeaway? How does this ancient piece of wisdom actually help us understand the world we're living in right now? The best way to think about it is like a lens. It's a new way of seeing things. When you see a person or a company or even a government fighting tooth and nail against transparency, this gives you a framework. It helps you see that their resistance probably isn't random. It's likely being driven by a deep fear of something being exposed. And here's how you can actually use this insight. It's a simple 3-step process. First, just notice when there's a really strong resistance to accountability, an allergy to scrutiny. Second, ask yourself, what's the fear? What could be driving that resistance? Is it reputation, consequences, shame? And that process naturally leads you to the 3rd step, understanding that powerful desire to stay hidden in the dark. In the end, this isn't just about analyzing other people. It's really about self-awareness. When we feel that little pull towards secrecy in ourselves, that urge to hide something, we can actually pause and identify the fear that's driving it. And just understanding that is a huge first step. It can lead to more empathy, and it gives us the power to make a conscious choice to act differently. And that really leaves us with one final big question. This entire dynamic we've talked about is built on one thing: avoiding the light because of fear. But what if we made a different choice? What new possibilities open up for us as individuals and for us as a society when, even though we're scared,
we intentionally choose to step into the light anyway.